Hello and welcome to the Enduro Method podcast. In today's episode, Joshua Rempel and I, Dane Tony, talk about mental toughness. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Mental toughness. A lot of times I think it's not used out of context necessarily, but there's a lot more that goes into it than I think what a lot of people think mental toughness is. It's one of those things that when you see somebody being mentally tough, it's usually comes along with physical toughness. So we think of somebody crossing a finish line after a grueling race as being mentally tough. We see advertisements for special forces training or something, going through selection process, people having really extreme, and usually it's right along there with physical adversity. And I'm not saying they don't go hand in hand, but that there's a lot more to it than just that.
So we're going to be diving right into your philosophy.
Well, it's definitely not
mental toughness.
Yeah, no, I can't claim that this is my philosophy. I've heard way smarter people talk about it. I'm basically paraphrasing, more or less. So just things. Yeah, some of it's things I've learned. It's other people I've listened to who talk about it. But it is interesting because you hear people say good mental toughness, good mental fitness as like in support or cues. But to me, it was always there's moments of that, and sure, like going through a hard workout in the gym. Pushing through when you want to quit, that's part of it, but that's by no means the whole picture. There's a lot more to being mentally tough, and you could be mentally tough and not physically fit. I mean, that's the other thing. I guess maybe because of the gym, it's always equated with that, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, you could be mentally a tough person and just be the best parent in the world, or the best friend, or because you're, as we'll kind of get into, there's just a lot more to it than just the physicality of it.
Why do you think it's important? Or do you think it's important?
Yeah, I definitely think it's important. I think it's important because it's helping you stay true to your purpose, basically. Because it's not easy. And if you only do the things that are easy, I would imagine the likelihood of I would bet you're not a very happy person. Honestly. Because humans need purpose. You need a goal.
Are you saying mentally weak people are not happy?
Potentially, but if they don't know they're mentally weak, maybe they're happy. No, I do. I think we need adversity. I think we need to overcome adversity. I think that helps individuals become better people. It gives you wins. I mean, you don't want to lose all the time, right? In life, if you lose all the time, again, the likelihood of you being happy, and I know it's fairly generic, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole everybody, but you're probably not that happy. It sucks to lose all the time. And that could be in any different context. So how do you not lose all the time? You learn, you become better, right? And you overcome those things, and then you stack up small wins. That's way better than losing. So
in this podcast, we're talking about 5 elements. How many elements are there?
Yeah, I got 5 attributes, more or less, that kind of make up, consist. Yeah, and by no means is this a finalized list. It's just kind of five things to think about in the realm of mental toughness and how it contributes to that. So first, go ahead.
So how do these 5 elements, why are these 5 elements that determine mental toughness?
I think they're important in the sense that they do all the things more that we kind of talked about. Again, if you take a highlight reel of mental toughness videos or on Instagram, it's going to be a snapshot of somebody accomplishing something great, right? And then right by that is like, oh, they're so mentally tough. Like literally, I'm picturing people crossing the finish line or selling the business that they work so hard to create. And there's always, at the end of these things, it's like, they're mentally tough. And then you think, okay, so if I do something really hard, I'm mentally tough if I finish it. But it's in all honesty, it's easy to go finish a marathon. Like, no, I'm dead serious. Like, you go.
I don't know.
Go out.
If I'd make it.
You could, though. That's the thing.
I mean, I could.
Like, you could do one marathon. That's what I'm saying. You could finish it. And
True.
just because you finished it.
I did believe that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you're mentally tough.
What if I had to walk the whole thing? You didn't think I was mentally tough?
I would say you showed some very good signs of putting some mental toughness.
Perseverance.
Absolutely. And I'm not downplaying that.
How long did it take me?
But
12 hours.
So what if you did your marathon, you finished it, and then for the next year you decided not to get off the couch because you showed so much mental fitness for that
because I earned it.
6-hour period that it took you to walk a marathon, or 8 hours,
I think
right?
It's gonna be a lot longer than 6 hours.
Well, whatever it took. What I'm saying is it's day in and day out over time, over years, extrapolated out over a lifetime, that like truly mentally fit people continue to show up. They continue to stay on top of their health. They continue to try and be good friends, better people, parents, relatives, whatever it is, right? And that's like true mental toughness. It's not a snapshot of 10 minutes here, or it's 8 hours here. It's 8 hours today, tomorrow, for the rest of your life.
All right, so let's get into the 5 elements.
All right, so real quick, the 5 elements we got: become a learner, expect adversity, take aim and learn your triggers. Don't be triggered by the word trigger. Silence the detractors or critics, and practice. So, start with the first one. Why is it important to become a learner? Basically, because a learner doesn't have a fixed mindset. So, we thinking of things as effort-based and not talent. Most likely, everybody's heard that phrase at one point or another. Somebody accomplishes something, and they say, "Oh, they're just that so-and-so is talented. They were born that way." And I mean, I heard that a lot as a kid from myself and other people around me.
Like you were being said, "Oh, well, you're good because you were born that way."
Like you're talented. You're an athlete. That was one, right? And that really screwed me up for a long time because there is always somebody else who's also an athlete, and they're better than you. And so if you're an athlete and the other person's an athlete, but that other athlete or kid or person is 10 times better than you are, how do you go about becoming that person? Like what are the steps from you're an athlete, but they're a better athlete?
You have to put forth more effort.
Right, but it's not talked about in effort. It's talked about they're an athlete. But you don't see their work ethic. And maybe they have a work ethic, maybe they don't, but that's not the point. The point is that you're all of a sudden just negating anybody's work, and you're saying that person's good because they're an athlete.
So you're living up to your genetic potential. You're exceeding your genetic potential by putting in effort. Or being growth mindseted. That's a word.
So there was, and I'm sure I'm missing some details on this, but there was a study, and they talk about this in the book, Growth Mindset by
Carol Dweck.
Carol Dweck. Great book. But there's a group of kids, and big classroom, they give a test, and it's a test at their own level, and they basically split the class in half, and half the kids, when they turned in the test, said, "Oh, you did great, you're super smart." And the other half of the class, they said, "Oh, you did great and you worked really hard." Right? So same group, another test, and the test was like 2 grade levels above where they're at. All the kids who were told they were super smart quit the test, more or less, not everybody. Didn't finish or did horribly on it. All the kids who were told that they worked really hard were able to persevere, figure out ways to get around the hard questions. Like they just did way better. So it's a great example of, like, you're basically pigeonholing people when you're telling them that you're only good because you were born that way, or you're as good as you are because no outside factors. It's just you're an athlete, you're smart. It's terrible. And so if you can, instead of saying that, base praise and stuff off of effort given, whether that's trying to learn, doing drills, trying to become a better
whatever you're trying to become.
athlete. Yeah, whatever it is. It's effort-based, not...
I mean, this could relate to your career, too.
Yeah, 100%.
We keep talking about athletics.
It's just easier context.
Well, I was just saying.
Yes, it could be anything.
Be a better learner. Step 1 to being more mentally tough.
Yeah. Also, redefine what success means to you. So if I were to ask you, what success mean to you?
What is success? Success means being able to say it?
Yeah.
You asking me?
I'm saying, what does it mean to you?
Am I supposed to answer it?
Okay, let's say, what if you said earning $1 million?
Okay.
Right. You could say, awesome. Table that, because that's kind of that's such a broad definition of success. Like, who cares?
Well, I was going to say happiness. But
Okay,
not very...
No, that's...
It was the first thing that came to my mind.
That's a similar definition.
It was kind of,
it's like...
I was waiting to come up with something better.
It's so broad.
That's why I didn't say it.
Yeah, but it's a good example. Because, like, what does that even mean? Happiness. So
that's why I didn't say it.
You could table that thing. And,
Oh, jeez.
That's a stupid computer. So you table that thing. Okay, great. You want to be happy? We'll just leave that up in the clouds and probably never look at it again. Now you got to take a step back, bring that down, and then set some realistic goals. Okay, so if I eat better, that makes me happier, right? You just kind of put in place...
Feel better about yourself.
Yeah, you put in place these baby steps that you can actually use as reference points.
What about, like, being present and reflecting upon days or weeks or time to be like, I'm really happy right now?
What, like meditate?
It could be that, or it could just, I mean, I actually wouldn't say meditating, but just like taking the time to reflect upon your life and like actually being like, I feel really good, or whatever, like whatever it may be. I'm thinking of happiness in the realm of that. I feel like we're getting off topic, but
yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I think it just basically boils down to having a growth mindset. So you're not fixating on, or you're not unable to use and bring in information. You need to have goals that are like basically achievable and what's the word? What do you do when you like record something? Measurable. Measurable goals. Because again, like happy, you can't measure you can't really chart that out. So you need something much more tangible. And then on with that, yeah, character and process. So character and process.
What's that?
Well, as you are a learner, the thing you're trying to learn hopefully is building up a good character. And then you can implement the process of doing that into other attributes. Right? Just like you were saying, I was talking about athletes too much. You can put that in your career. You can put that in friendship. You can put it in parent. You can put it in whatever. But it's always the same. So, and one thing real quick before we move to the next one, be on a learner. Like it's funny, but it's easy. Maybe not easy, but it's very common, I would say, to be very growth mindset oriented in some aspects of life and completely shut down in others. So, something to pay attention to. I notice that in myself quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next one, moving on, would be expect adversity. So, this seems pretty simple, but I think it gets overlooked a lot. If you don't expect adversity, usually when it does happen to you, it's a lot harder to deal with. So whatever it is you're doing, it's coming. It's going to happen. You're going to get injured. People around you will get injured. You'll get made fun of on social media. You'll have a bad day. Could be worse, right? Death in the family. There's just any number of things that could potentially go wrong, and they will at some point. So having at least thought about those things will help you deal with them in the future.
Does that mean you need to have like a plan, or is it just like nothing bad will ever happen to me?
I think it's both. I think you can't plan for everything, but you can at least give some thought to it. I mean, a good example would be let's say we gotta get over to Jackson. Well, we're gonna be leaving at 6 p.m. in the evening. We're just going over there real quick to grab some dinner and come back, right? But between us and Jackson is a pass. It's winter, so it's potential for something to go wrong. It's not a high likelihood. We're gonna go to a restaurant that's got heat in it, so I don't need to wear much in the way of like winter clothes. Maybe I got flip-flops on, right? And in the truck I got nothing else. Like no jackets, no water, nothing, because it's 40 minutes away. Like no big deal. Well, when we get up there, the pass slides, we're stuck in the truck for 12 hours, right? I mean, pretty bad case,
so
potentially.
You're saying you need to prepare and bring water and...
Well, I'm saying if I had thought about the aspect of something going wrong, maybe I would have put shoes and boots on and had a backup jacket in the truck and maybe a bottle of water.
I don't know but then like you don't want to be going through life being like, well, if I drive to Jackson, I better make sure I have my gallon of water in the back and I got a shovel in the back just in case I get stuck.
Yeah, why not? It's a lot better.
Or I guess I don't want to have to worry about...
It's a lot better than being the idiot on the news that has flip-flops on in December.
Okay, so my question is, how does this relate or differentiate between worrying and expecting adversity?
Whoa. Those are two completely things, because the worrier maybe didn't even leave and go to Jackson because they were scared of getting stuck in the slide. Even though the likelihood of it is terribly low. Well, the other person is just prepared. They've expected, they've thought about, they have a contingency plan. So
your expecting adversity is more in a line of being prepared.
Well, exactly. It's
versus
thinking,
worrying.
Worrying is like
I'm thinking of your other examples, like, worry about a tragedy, like if you expect that or worry about that in the same realm, worry about that all the time, like
there's a big difference.
That's added stress, that's added undue stress.
Correct. There's a big difference between, and even you could think of like the stoic way of like, you think about things to their very end. Like, oh, Thor's going to die at some point. Our dog.
You just went right there, didn't you?
Well, I'm just saying. I think about that all the time. So when I'm with him, I'm enjoying his company instead of just taking it for granted. But I'm not worried about it. It's going to happen. I can't control that. But what I can control is the time I spend hanging out with him.
Laying there with Thor.
Yeah. So this is a little off topic. We're talking about adversity, not tragedy, right? But it is that in some sense. Like you need to realize that things will go wrong at some point. And so and
that makes you mentally tougher.
Yeah, because you're prepared for the situation. If we're on a road trip and the trailer tire blows out and I just freak out. I just start throwing shit like the world's ending, the trip. I mean, we got 2 more weeks of time to go hang out and enjoy whatever we're doing. And I've just lost it. Like, that is terribly mentally weak. Instead, I go, this sucks. Tired. Okay, we'll pull over.
I feel like you can name 800 experiences that you and I have been through.
Totally.
I'm thinking of all of our mental adversity.
Right, and if each one of those was just a
blow up,
it's not good.
I'm thinking of one recently where we almost got stuck in the mud.
What, in the sand?
In the mud.
Oh, that wasn't that bad. Anyways, again, we don't
need to go there,
right.
But it wouldn't have been good if either one of us were freaking out.
Well, exactly. So you plan for these things.
I think
it's expectations minus reality, right?
Well,
reality doesn't care. Reality it just is. And so if you can think about these things and give some foresight and okay, what do we do if this happens? What do we do if this happens? When we go dirt biking, do you take a rain jacket?
Yes, but I was just thinking like in the context of this element of being mentally tough, it's staying calm, cool, and collected when shit hits the fan.
Yeah, it's being
But I think that's a good way to put it, and like that's how I'm understanding it. Is like, you know, if we're dirt biking and something goes wrong, like we're not going to be the one that takes the entire group energy down to the ground by freaking out.
Exactly.
You know, you're going to be hopefully lifting people up in despite of adversity because of whatever, you know, like.
I got one that was coming up.
Trying to find is it different?
It's similar. Element? It's a good example.
Well, this is what I'm gathering from the expect adversity.
No, totally. That's it.
Calm, cool, collected.
Yeah, I like it. All right, next one. Take aim, know your triggers. So take aim part would be, again, you need goals. You also need to realize what's in your control and what's not. So that's piggybacks right off the expected adversity. You can kind of plan for things. You have an idea what's in your control and what isn't in your control. Just as an example, if you're an athlete, you could say you have, I think, 5 things here in your control: training, nutrition, sleep, recovery, and mindset. But you honestly don't have complete control over all those. I mean, in a perfect world, you do. But what happens if you're going to an event, your flight gets delayed, or you miss it, or it gets canceled? What if the supermarket's out of chicken, right? Like, there's all these little tiny things that can always happen, and if one of those things is like a trigger, it just sets you off, right? It's no good. So the one thing you really always have control over, and this is from Epictetus, is your reason to choose, which is pretty cool. Epictetus is an old philosopher back in the day. So he says the reason to choose is ultimately the only thing that you have control over. So effort and focus. And you can, I don't know, it's a super short, but you can take that one pretty deep. And all in all, it really is. Because again, like you go back, do you have complete control over your sleep? Hopefully, but there's all outside factors, light, noise, circumstance, right? Sometimes that can be controlled. Recovery, most you'd like to think so, but what if your sleep was terrible? That's going to impact your recovery. So if all these things build and build and build, what you do have control over is how you react to it. So no self-pity, deal with it appropriately. You got to realize too, a lot of this stuff's an emotional response, so fight or flight. It's not always like we're hardwired to have these responses too. So it's not your fault that you have the initial response, but it is your fault and how you deal with that response. So there's another saying, this one by Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, fantastic book. He survived the Holocaust. He says between stimulus and the outcome, there is a space, and that is the space, in that space is your ability to respond. So that's a pretty profound idea. And so you can't control the stimulus, and what you can control is after the stimulus, how you respond to that stimulus. There's a space, and yeah, dictates a lot. So if you get cut off in traffic, you can scream at the windshield, slam your steering wheel, do all that stuff. But that was also, again, you couldn't control getting cut off in traffic, but you can absolutely control how you respond to that scenario. So.
And what's the outcome?
Well, that would be the outcome, screaming like a little child in your car.
Well, the outcome would be like you hurt your fist banging it against the thing.
Yeah, you could do that. But the outcome is you overreacted to the stimulus. So that space in between what you choose to do.
But your reaction to the stimulus can dictate the outcome.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So
I thought it said that the two things you can't control were the stimulus and the outcome.
No, sorry. If I said that was a mistake. You can't control a stimulus. But after that, you have a space which dictates the outcome.
Okay.
Yeah. And there could be all kinds of outcomes. You could hurt your fist. Somebody that you know could be in the car next to you, watching you do this, throw a little tantrum like a child. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. And that's all emotional response. And again, it's not your fault for having an emotional response. Like, that's good luck trying to get that to go away, right? But you can work on controlling how you deal with that emotional response. And then you can absolutely control your physical response to the emotional. So even if you have these feelings of rage, you can work on not expressing that physically, right? I mean, maybe it's still burning in your chest like 5 minutes later, but work on not expressing it. You're showing restraint, showing control. Don't be reactive. Amateurs react. Professionals respond. So we want a response, not a reaction. I don't know. You got anything else on this one? Oh, triggers. This is what I was going to say earlier. So have in mind if you know that getting cut off in traffic just blows you up, it goes back to the first thing. Expect to get cut off in traffic at some point. And then when it happens, at least you're going to be a little bit more prepared. So you were starting to bring up the dirt bike stuff. And I was going to say a trigger for you would be
failure.
No. Being lost in the woods by yourself, but not actually being lost in the woods. We're just around the corner. So we're on a group ride.
Podcast, are we?
And Dane realizes she looks up.
And you know.
And there's no one around or in sight. That would be a trigger that sets off a cascading effect of emotions for you.
I'm not denying anything.
So if you know these things and then the next time it happened, you're able to think through and stay and have a response to them instead of a reaction to them.
Well, that's funny.
What?
You think that I can think through it and
fight
my emotions?
Because if you put
I am mentally weak when it comes to that, Josh.
If you put these into play and you expect adversity.
No, so how I have mediated that is like tracking where the tracks are. Like,
right.
That has made me feel more confident.
Safe.
Yeah. Talking with you.
Totally.
Having an open line of communication that these are the rules and you have to abide by them. So if you don't, Dane starts cascading in emotions.
But this is a perfect example of take aim at some things that you can work on.
Right.
Know your triggers, and now you've got some plans set in place.
I would say I'm teetering on the spectrum of mentally tough there. Like
but
it's
working
a teeter-totter.
Yeah.
But I would say that, I think the expectations, the knowing of my weaknesses, or knowing of my problem, whatever it is, trigger, it can help it for a little bit. But ultimately, I think, but I've talked about setting things in motion to help me get more comfortable not feeling lost.
Yeah, but that's a great example of a trigger.
Yeah.
It's a specific thing that sets you off. So having a non-emotional response is much better than a emotional response. All right, next one, silence the detractor or critic. So we have a constant critic in our head. There's critics everywhere, especially advent of social media. Everybody can talk to everybody. It's insane. But from an evolutionary standpoint, we default to being a critic. I mean, it boils. It's not just like just started with social media. This is way back. So if we're way more hardwired to remember the things that are bad than the things that are good, because remembering the things that are bad helps you stay alive. If you don't remember that when it gets dark and big hairy things with teeth that want to eat you come out at night, like, you're not going to last that long. If you eat this certain berry that, makes you shit your brains out and then you die dehydrated and curled up in a ball in 2 days, you don't live very long. And so it's a lot easier to remember the things that want to kill you than it is to remember that, the blueberries taste better than the red berries, blah, blah, blah. And so this voice of critic in our head, it's not inherently bad, but it can become bad. And so being able to silence that is important. And I think it is important to point out that something or someone or a voice in your head that is a critic is also someone or something that doesn't give you a solution. So it's kind of like the main point of the difference between, we've all heard like constructive criticism, blah, blah, blah. Well, the thing about a critic is they don't ever offer a solution. There's nothing positive to come about it. It's just what you did wrong, how you did it wrong, how you're a failure, blah, blah, blah. Instead of, hey, this is what you did wrong, try this. Right? So there's a big difference between a critic and then you could say a coach, hopefully a coach, right? Or somebody who has your better interest in mind and is actually offering up solutions to your problem or the thing you did wrong instead of just telling you how you suck. Most people are aware that there's a great poem by Teddy Roosevelt, The Man in the Arena. Check that out if not, but very true. The person out there trying new things is the person that deserves the credit, not the people in the stands yelling at them, telling them how they did it wrong. And the voice in your head is also, it's not you. It's just it's like a running commentary. It really is. Like, meditation will help you kind of get in on this, but like, have you ever tried to control your thoughts?
I have.
How'd it go?
Not well.
Yeah, it's terribly hard.
I've had moments.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of meditation, though.
Right. And like...
It's not like... And then they even tell you when you're meditating, it's like you're not fighting it. You're just observing it.
Right. You're stepping back and just letting them go. Letting them cruise around. And...
Or try... I try
because
to bring it back.
Yeah, it's not possible to control every thought that pops in your head. No, it's not. No. And so...
In my opinion.
Well, same idea here. Like, you just need to be able to get away from it. Take a step back. Not respond, not react. Right? There's a great little... Because if you ever played this game with yourself where you're like, all right, I'm going to eat healthy tonight at dinner. Let's say. And party is all fired up. And then there's party that's like, nah, I want dessert. Like, I don't want to eat. I want freaking pizza and ice cream. I don't want to eat healthy. And you're like, shit. And you're having this little internal battle, right? 5 minutes later, you could be like, screw it. I'm eating pizza and ice cream. And literally, there's a part of you that goes, what are you doing, fat ass? Are you just going to eat pizzas and ice cream all night? Like, why don't you eat healthy? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. You're still going to have an argument with yourself. The voice inside your head does not care what you do. It just wants to argue through and through.
I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so freaking true. Like, I want to go for a run today. Oh, my knee's a little achy. My ankle. Oh, I got this thing later. I don't want to be tired for it.
But I want to go running.
But I want to go run.
I want to get
because I know it's healthy. And then you're like, I'm going to go run. Put your shoes on. Or
you talk yourself out of it. Oh my God, I've totally done that.
Talk yourself in, talk yourself out. And again, it is true. I don't even think. And if you start doing it, you're fine. And then you're just doing the thing. So.
I think you actually said this one. I don't know if this is off topic or not, but about food. You know, like when you're eating crappy food, like when you're eating ice cream, yeah, it tastes good and the dopamine receptors are doing its thing, but it's so fleeting, like, and it doesn't do anything.
No.
It does nothing. Like, seriously, when you said that, like, I think that really changed a lot of my mindset on eating crap and, like, that, like, sweet fix or cheat meal, like, it doesn't do anything. And it's not like I feel great after.
I feel bad.
Like, yeah, and it just, like, it doesn't matter. In one of my little meditation apps, they also said something similar. I'm not remembering it off the top of my head, but it was similar to that. Like, it doesn't change. Like, I think maybe I'll just stick with yours. It's great during, but it's not even that great, I think is what you said. Like, it's not even that great.
Right. It is interesting because I think it goes back because I pay attention to this stuff. I think about it all the time. And,
shocker.
Yeah. But what it is it's the build up to it. So it's like the journey before the destination idea, right? And I don't want to get too far off topic either, but real quick, it's also like training before the event.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. You were saying it's like the build up for eating the ice cream. Like you get to look forward to it going to the store. You get to look forward to it buying it at the checkout. Meanwhile, too, you're probably also having the internal battle of feeling a little bit of guilt.
The whole time.
Guilt.
Yeah.
And then, but you're like, and then you finally get to it and you're like eating it.
And it's good.
And then it's gone.
But then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't even, like, literally, if you could just have that build up and then not eat it, you would, like, all that foreplay leading up to it is still there. It's just like training. Look, I mean, this goes back to like any event, and I would like, it's not the event, it's not the thing, it's not the you finish the thing. It's like, that's great, and I'm sure like there are times that it really means something, but usually what you remember the most fondly is all the effort and persistence and days you showed up and training you put in to get yourself to the event or the challenge. Mm-hmm. And anybody that holds on to the event and challenge more than the journey of training, like, I don't know, I think you peaked in high school. I'm sorry.
I still think I did peak
Sure.
in high school.
All right, last one, number 5, seek out practice. So it always comes back to practice. It takes reps. It takes time. You'll always have faults. You'll never be perfect. You're trying to find the space in between crises, more or less, to put this stuff into play. And I know we said it wasn't physical. It manifests itself in a bunch of different ways. It can be physical. But the thing is if you show up and you do these things and you put these into practice, like, it will show up physically. It will show up mentally. It will show up emotionally. The whole goal is just to become tougher, essentially. I know tougher might not be the best word there, but you don't want to be on the whim of everything else around you. You want to be like the calm in the middle of the storm. right? Shit's going crazy everywhere, and you're just doing what you got to do. You're not overreacting. You're not underreacting. You're just getting stuff done. And the best place to practice this stuff is not at the extremes, because if you're always super comfortable, it's too easy, and you're not really learning much. And if it's like survival scenario, it's way too extreme, right? Then it's just fight or
Or you're just risking your life or whatever,
or somebody else's life, or it's not where you want to be to practice, right? And then what you want is that nice middle ground, and that is also why training is so helpful to building mental toughness, is because you come into a fairly safe environment, you're put under stress, and you're able to adapt and deal with it, whether that's through weights, through runnings, through rowing. Runnings. It could be anything, right? But that middle ground, just out of your comfort zone, is the best place to be able to get some of this stuff to stick in practice. The snooze alarm in the morning, get cut off in traffic, crappy weather, and I think the overarching...
What's a snooze alarm in the morning?
Well, how do you react to it?
Oh.
Do you get out of bed? Do you hit snooze? Go back to sleep. I hit snooze and go back to sleep. Complainers are a great example of potentially... Oh, that's one. So like the overarching thing on all this is if it's awareness. So the more aware you are of how you respond, how you react, what you do, where you're tough, where you're not, the better you're going to get at all of it.
The more mentally tough you are?
No, the more aware you are.
Means more mentally tough you are?
Means you can build your mental toughness better. Because if you don't know what you don't know, can't get better. So learning what you don't know, applying it, becoming aware of the situations where you do emotionally react and not respond, all those things, it's going to help. I like this saying, even though it's fairly extreme: never whine, never complain, never make excuses. Thoughts become words, words become your actions, and actions dictate your destiny. Now, that's pretty hard. Like, never whine, never complain. I mean, right? Think about it. How many times do you complain in a day?
Yeah.
Now, I think there's jokes, right? You can make jokes. Weather sucks. But truly whining and truly complaining, I think those are things that if you're introspective, thinking about that and really try not to let that stuff come out of your mouth, it's hard.
Pay attention to how many times a day you complain or whine.
Yeah, so that would be like breaking the chain. Really hard one is to not think it. But again, we can't necessarily control what comes in and out of our brains, but what you can control is what comes out of your mouth. So there's another guy, he said, never lie. And he says, well, that's impossible. But what was it, try not to lie? Or try not to let the lie come out of your mouth? Something like that. Because that is something that you actually can control. You can control what comes out of your mouth. You can't control what comes in and out of your head.
Oh, never lie, control what comes out.
So never tell a lie, or never. I'll have to figure this one out.
The point, the thing is just control what comes out your mouth.
Yeah, because you can't necessarily do the other.
What if something bad comes out your mouth and then you want to take it back?
It's too late.
Well, see, I say it's too late. It already happened, but it's also up to your mouth again to make repercussions as to what came out.
What?
If you were to make a mistake,
yeah,
by not filtering what came out your mouth,
yeah. Well, some things you just can't take back. Once said or done.
Yes, it's true, but you can try.
Yeah, but it might not be enough, depending on what it was. So, become aware, pay more attention. That's how you build mental fitness. It's definitely something that needs to be practiced. It's not you either have it or you don't. You can also have it and then lose it. I've thought about it quite a bit, and had it at certain points in time, and then felt like I have not had it at certain points in time, and had to regain it.
What would be those examples?
Like through periods of, or it's fluctuated. Maybe I've been really diligent and dedicated to woodworking projects, but then not worked out for a couple weeks, right? And then fitness has slipped off while other things have been better. Or I don't know. I just feel like there's always periods where it's a constant battle to try and stay on top of it. It really is, because it'll just start slipping away. And that's why I think a lot of things, but I think in general, like we're all hardwired to think we do more than we do. Basically. And it like, because we do have memories and we've had past experiences, we also, we do have memories, but we have terrible memories. And we tend to overemphasize the things that we think we've done better than we actually do.
I was going to change the subject off of what you just said. Right. When going back to what I had thought there a second ago, like, ultimately, mental toughness, there's no badge that you get. There's no, yes, you are mentally tough. No, you are not mentally tough. Right. It is just something you're constantly pursuing, subconsciously and consciously, would you say? Yeah. Whether you, like, you know, and that ultimately, it's a lifelong challenge. So there's not like a, oh, he is, or she is mentally tough. I mean, they can exude that. They can exude that.
There is, but it's an ever-moving marker.
They can express it, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, if I think of the people I've thought of who are mentally tough, in my life,
sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
Freaking, where's my badge?
Yeah. They never talk. They just do.
They didn't even know they were mentally tough.
Or they thought they weren't and needed to prove it, right? I mean, that's kind of a hallmark too. Like they're in the midst of doing things.
What about in
getting shit done?
What about in like an athletic endeavor, like?
Well, yeah, a mentally tough person's a person who shows up and practices every day.
What about perseverance?
Same.
I feel like that's the one thing I got going for me.
No, like literally, if you show up every day to your responsibilities, whether it's somebody else's responsibilities that they gave you, whether it's your job or the responsibilities you've given yourself, that's a mentally tough individual. You can always expound on that, right? Go an extra mile, do the other thing, whatever. But that's mentally tough. For sure. That's why when we started, it wasn't just physical. It's everything combined. Now, a better, a more mentally tough individual will make a better athlete, will make a better person, all those things. Like they definitely go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And you can have an athlete who's not mentally tough too, mm-hmm. but they could probably be a better athlete or person if they were.
Yeah. We've been wanting to do this podcast for a while now. Or you have been.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it originally when we started talking about starting a podcast.
Yeah, and real quick on the awareness thing, because I started and then got sidetracked, but like a perfect example, because everybody probably knows one, but like complainers, right? Never complain. We said that as a thing. It's really hard to actually do. But if you have a friend who's always complaining,
don't hang out with him.
No,
cut him off.
No, but pay attention, because it's fascinating, and you could even say, hey, don't complain. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, I hate complainers. They'll complain
about the complainers.
They'll complain immediately following, and just zero awareness that they're even doing it. So awareness is such a key thing, because if you're not aware you're doing something, you don't even know that you need to, or you need to change or work on changing or anything. So awareness is the first step out of everything that we talked about, even though it was one of the five. It's kind of like the umbrella over everything.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Enduro Method podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you want to send us a message, get in touch, you can find us on social media. Instagram is where we're most active, but Facebook, we are on there as well. Or at our website, enduromethod.com. Also, if you have any other podcast topics or anything that you think would be worthwhile for us to talk about, don't be afraid to send those in. We're always looking for good ideas, especially if you're thinking of something that maybe we're not. So we hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much.